And we are back here at 7:07 a.m. And as promised, on the phone this morning, we have our very one and only Congressman, Jodey Arrington. Are you there? Good morning
reporting from the swamp.
The swamp. Yes, you are.
Yes.
Oh, Congressman,
it just gets swampier, Dave.
I know we have so much to talk about, but I got one burning question that just keeps going around in my head. I keep seeing that the Democrats, it's the socialists who seem to be leading the pack, and now we have Elizabeth Warren, who I do believe in my lifetime has come up with some of the craziest, most far-out left ideas, and it seems like that at least the Democrats are embracing those. Tell me, Congressman, has the country moved that far left?
Well, I think the Democrat Party has certainly moved that far left.
That's frightening.
I think our society, quite frankly, I think our culture has moved to the left. I mean, that's my honest assessment is we've lost a lot of the culture battle, not in West Texas, but around the country for sure. I don't think our country, with moderate Democrats, independents, and certainly conservatives taken together, are ready to take the road to ruin that Venezuela, Cuba, and other socialist countries have. I think Warren is way too radical in her socialist ideas for mainstream America, and I think having her at the top of the ticket only helps our chances of having 4 more years of our chief drainer, swamp drainer, Donald J. Trump, and that's something that I'm certainly hoping for as the outcome to the 2020 elections.
So, Congressman, Nancy Pelosi announced it right before the Democrat debate, and I think that she's trying to hide it a little bit, but it looks like, and I could be completely wrong in my assessment of this, but is it possible that she does not have the votes to open an official inquiry on impeachment?
I think that if she called it to a vote, she'd have the votes. Here's the problem, and this is what we're watching her awkwardly try to do. She wants to have the appearance of a formal impeachment process without any of her members taking the tough vote. Now, as I've said on your show before, there are 44 Democrats who won in the midterm elections by less than 5%. Those folks do not want to be on record as voting for impeachment because their constituents think this is an absolute waste of time, like the Russian collusion hoax. And they've got, on top of that, they've got nothing notable in terms of legislative achievement to show for their time. So I think that they will be dealt with cruelly by their constituents, and I think Nancy Pelosi's trying to, again, assuage that far left and not put in jeopardy those Democrats in more competitive districts. But she's running out of time, and I think the American people are starting to call BS on this formal impeachment inquiry that does not allow the minority to subpoena witnesses. We can't cross-examine. The president can't retain counsel. It is absolutely illegitimate, unfair, unconstitutional, and she knows it. I think the pressure is going to be far too great not to bring it to a vote here in the next week to 2 weeks.
Well, it seems like it's like a kangaroo court type process.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's all done in the shroud of secrecy. They don't want the Republicans to cross-examine, for example, the Inspector General or the whistleblowers who, at one point, Chairman Schiff said he'd never spoken with, and then he said, oh, yeah, I did. They didn't check the box on their form to the IG that they actually had spoken, quote, spoken or colluded or coordinated with the Democrat chairman's office. So there's a lot of things that smell, and if they open this up to a formal impeachment inquiry, the American people, along with us, will get to see the truth of the matter, and I think the truth will be that there's no there, and this is purely political.
So, Congressman, one of the things that I see with this is they're going to have to take a vote at some point, either for an official inquiry or they're going to have to put their name on an actual impeachment. I think they've gone too far to back out of it, but is Nancy Pelosi trying to make it where she can back out of this without putting anybody's name on anything?
I don't think she can back out now, Matt. I think you're right. They've crossed the Rubicon, man. They made that decision before they even read the transcript, if you recall. But they've been ready to pounce, and they've been spring-loaded for impeachment from day one. So it's no surprise to me that they were premature in calling for this. I think they regret it because a lot of their members went back home during the recess break, had town halls, and have come back here saying, what are we doing? We need to pass USMCA. We need to lower drug prices for seniors. We need to get about the real work of the American people. We cannot have a Russian collusion part two, or we'll pay the price at the polls. And I think that's what's happening. But Matt, she's going to have to bring it to a vote at the end of the day, and it's a losing strategy for the Democrats politically. But worst of all, this is going to do irreparable harm to the presidency and to our democratic institutions. And once you let this out of the box and you do these kind of shenanigans, I think you're hard pressed not to have others do that in the future, Republican or Democrat, quite frankly.
So, Congressman, looking at what Schiff has now come out and said, Congressman Schiff came out and said that he no longer needs the whistleblower because we have the transcript. And that's something that the Republicans have been saying all along. What's the point of the whistleblower? We have the whole phone call right here. What do you think changed there?
Well, I think the whistleblower did not abide by the Whistleblower Protection Act law. I think is probably one of his most inconvenient facts. And there's nothing for them to report it. This is secondhand stuff. I mean, can you imagine some deep state bureaucrat can blow the whistle on the president from some secondhand conversation or information about a conversation he has with a foreign leader? Think about this new precedent. Think about how our foreign policy and national security is going to be impacted because of foreign heads of state can't have a candid conversation with our commander in chief. Look, Adam Schiff has all kinds of problems as the leader of the Intelligence Committee. Along with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrat leadership. This is illegitimate. It's not credible. People see it for what it is, which is a political ploy, whereas the president calls it a scam. And it is. The president did nothing wrong. In fact, the president would be derelict in his duties if he didn't ask for presidents of other countries whom we support with a lot of taxpayer money to make sure that they root out graft and corruption. And Vice President Biden was wearing it on his sleeve as a bragging point that he was able to call off an investigation of this energy company in which his son served. And I think President Trump was right to call that high-profile case into question and say, hey, make sure there's nothing there, because we're not in the business of supporting folks who are not willing to steward our resources for the betterment of American interest. So the president did the right thing, and they're just trying to make more impeachment hay of it. Nothing new.
Were they surprised when Donald Trump released that transcript?
Oh, I think they were. I think they all thought from the whistleblowers coming to coordinate and collude with the Democratic Intelligence Committee staff that there was a smoking gun. And then when that was released, I think they had their "oh shoot" moment. And like you said, they can't put it back in the box. And I think you still got at least half of the Democrats in the House demanding that they go all the way with it and call for a vote.
Yeah, okay.
You certainly have half of them.
Congressman, we've got to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk more. And we're back here on KFYO Mornings with Dave and Matt at 6:22 a.m. and back on the phone with Congressman Jodey Arrington. Congressman, so how do you think things are progressing right now in D.C.?
I think they're regressing, and I think they have digressed to more harassment of this president instead of doing the work of the people. There's one issue that we're taking up this week in the Ways and Means Committee, in which I serve, drug pricing for seniors. We had a bipartisan legislative reform that would have gone a long way to bring costs down for our seniors and save taxpayers money. And they've pulled that, and now they're going with a straight partisan, big government sort of socialist takeover of the drug market, which will kill innovation and ultimately will be just like a lot of these other third world countries when it comes to access to life-saving drugs. So something needs to happen there. There's a great bipartisan opportunity, just like surprise billing, just like USMCA and some of our trade deals. But things have just gotten, if you can't imagine it, more hyper-partisan and less productive.
So as far as the USMCA, I mean, you were saying that the Democrats have to get a win in there. They're doing all of this other stuff. Do you think that that's a quick, easy win that they could potentially do before the end of the session?
I actually do. I think in a very perverse way, because I think all this harassment junk is bad for the country. It is also, though, put more pressure on the Democrats, as you suggested, to come up with something of note because they have zero legislative achievement. This one's teed up. Democrats, a delegation of Democratic members of Congress, including my chairman, Richie Neal, just came back from Mexico where they were talking about enforcing labor standards, et cetera. I think that everything is teed up. I think we'll see USMCA ratified, and we'll have the NAFTA 2.0 as the new reality, thanks to President Trump and his commitment to fair and reciprocal trade with our partners around the world.
So what is it that the Democrats are waiting for the USMCA? Is there something that they're looking into? I remember seeing that one of the Democratic congressmen was going to Mexico to talk to them about it and look into some things. Are they wanting to change it in some way, or is this something that they're just holding off because of this impeachment stuff?
Well, it's number one, it is purely political. This is if we took the vote today, we would have an overwhelming majority of folks, both Republican and Democrats, support this. So there's nothing in substance, Matt. They've talked about the aluminum and steel tariffs as the barrier. President Trump lifted them. They talked about labor and environmental standards. Those were enhanced significantly over NAFTA. They talked about Mexico. We can't be sure that Mexico will ratify them. Mexico was the first country to ratify them. So there's nothing on substance. It's purely Pelosi's fear of giving President Trump a win going into 2020.
Well, and a potential boost of the economy. I mean, this could be a huge boost to the economy if it passes.
Well, it will be a boost to the economy. Look, we have seen ag, just looking through the lens of Texas and West Texas, we've seen ag exports quadruple since NAFTA. It supports 1 million jobs in Texas. If we pass USMCA, and I believe it will be ratified, we will see $70 billion in additional economic impact, 170,000 plus jobs come online as a result. This will continue the growth in our economy, and it will help our president and a Republican majority because we win on economic policy issues, and people have already absorbed what has happened with free market policies like the tax cuts and regulatory relief that's given us historic growth over the last couple of years.
Well, Congressman, we've got just about a minute left, and as always, we want to kind of open the floor to you to talk about anything. Well, and one question is, are you scheduling another town hall in Lubbock?
I've got town halls all across the district. I don't know when my next one will be in Lubbock, and I can't even tell you when my next. I did several when I was in town for the August recess. With 29 counties, I got in 100 cities. I've got a lot of work just to get around. But I'll let y'all know so you can advertise it. But I think my biggest frustration right now is just that you've got the socialist Democrats trying to radical left each other because of the presidential Democratic primary. And you've just got the House so politicized that we've hijacked any hope of doing anything meaningful. And I came here to do meaningful things, even as a person in the minority.
Yeah, Congressman, that's it. We're out of time, and as usual, we thank you so much for
thank y'all.
Giving us some time this morning. And good luck. Keep the faith, man.
You got it. You got it. Go West Texas. Bye-bye.
You bet.